Welcome to this presentation on dysgraphia and dyscalculia. Dysgraphia and dyscalculia are specific learning disorders, and let me explain these conditions. What is dysgraphia? Dysgraphia is a neurological disorder of written expression that impairs writing ability and fine motor skills. It is a learning disability that affects children and adults and interferes with practically all aspects of the writing process, including spelling, legibility, word spacing and sizing, and expression. What you see is a writing by a child who is affected with dysgraphia. It is estimated that 5 to 20% of all children have some type of writing deficit like dysgraphia. Dysgraphia, like dyslexia and dyscalculia, are common in children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There are two forms of this impairment, mild and severe. Children affected by the mild form have difficulty in learning to write legibly. Those affected by the severe type of impairment can copy writing without distortion, but they cannot write spontaneously. They have a deficiency in handwriting, orthographic coding, and finger sequencing. Orthographic coding is the storing process of written words and processing of letters in those words. Finger sequencing is the movement of the muscles required to write. People with dysgraphia can often write on some level and may experience difficulty with other fine motor skills such as tying shoelaces. What are the symptoms of dysgraphia? The symptoms of dysgraphia include trouble forming letter shapes, tight, awkward or painful grip on a pencil, difficulty following a line or staying within margins, trouble with sentence structure or following rules of grammar when writing but not when speaking, difficulty organizing or articulating thoughts on paper, pronounced difference between spoken and written understanding of a topic. What are the causes of dysgraphia? The causes of dysgraphia are brain damage, birth defects, and disorientation. Brain damage occurs when the brain is starved of oxygen at birth or through near drowning, sustained temperature, head injury, or stroke. Disorientation refers to the altered focus of thinking. Is dysgraphia curable? Dysgraphia, like other learning disorders, are lifelong conditions that have no cure. Managing dysgraphia focuses on interventions, accommodations, and special services to circumvent writing related tasks and or improve writing abilities. Given the nature of dysgraphia, attempts at remediation and more practice alone are not enough. Accommodations and other modifications are necessary to successfully manage the condition. What interventions can be provided for dysgraphia in schools? The most important thing schools can do to help dysgraphic children to manage symptoms is to take off the pressure from the act of writing, either by requiring less writing overall or by allowing alternatives like typing or speaking. The academic interventions include allowing the student to take extra time on tests. Students with dysgraphia take longer to perform words and letters or even fill in bubbles on a multiple choice exam, meaning that extra time will reduce stress and allow them to more successfully demonstrate what they know. Providing worksheets. Rather than requiring children to copy down problems from the board, which can put students with dysgraphia at a disadvantage, teachers should print out worksheets beforehand to distribute to the whole class. Removing neatness as a grading criterion. Low marks for messy handwriting can frustrate a child with dysgraphia and make her or him feel as though his or her effort was worthless. If a child's handwriting is absolutely illegible, it may be necessary for the child to switch to word processing software. Reducing the length of written assignments. In maths or science classes, teacher can reduce the number of problems required. Providing the student with a teacher's copy of the notes. If this is not possible, teachers can allow another student to share notes. Allowing students to substitute keywords for full sentences. This can be done whenever possible. This cuts unnecessary time struggling with handwriting while still providing the student with an opportunity to answer the question correctly. Creating oral alternatives to writing assignments. This can mean allowing an oral version of full exam or replacing a short worksheet with a quick oral lesson summary at the end of the day. Allowing for some spelling errors. When possible, teachers should permit the use of a dictionary or a spell checking device. Using physical accommodations. These can include pencil grips, erasable pens and paper with raised lines, all of which help students with dysgraphia work on handwriting skills. Graph paper, which provides visual guidance for spacing letters and numbers, is also useful. Allowing students to use computers with word processing software. This can be arranged whenever possible. Alternatively, teachers should allow students to use planning software before writing a long answer by hand. Let me now move on to dyscalculia. What is dyscalculia? Dyscalculia is a brain-based condition that makes it hard for affected children to make sense of numbers and math concepts. The affected children have problems in calculations, even simple arithmetic, because of an inability to manipulate number relationships. They lack number sense, which is an intuitive understanding of how numbers work and how to compare and estimate numbers on a number line. Numerical inability is again of two kinds, mild and severe. Children with mild disability can be identified when they start learning numbers, simple addition and simple subtraction. If the problem is severe, the children will not be able to number symbols and their relationships. This is also termed as loss of arithmetic ability. What are the symptoms of dyscalculia? Symptoms include difficulties with processing numbers and this includes connecting a number to the quantity it represents. For example, the number 2 to 2 apples, counting backwards and forwards, comparing two amounts. Trouble with subitizing. To subitize is to recognize quantities without counting. Trouble recalling basic math facts like multiplication tables. Difficulty linking numbers and symbols to amounts. Trouble with mental math and problem solving. Difficulty making sense of money and estimating quantities. Difficulty with telling time on an analog clock. Poor visual and spatial orientation. Difficulty immediately sorting out direction right from left. Trouble with recognizing patterns and sequencing numbers. What are the causes of dyscalculia? The possible causes of dyscalculia are heredity, brain injury, and environmental factors like low birth weight and exposure to alcohol in the womb. Is dyscalculia curable? The answer is no. Like other learning disabilities, dyscalculia has no cure and cannot be treated with medication. By the time most individuals are diagnosed, they have a shaky math foundation. The goals of managing the condition, therefore, are to fill in as many gaps as possible and to develop coping mechanisms that can be used throughout life. This is typically done through special instruction, accommodations, and other interventions. Dyscalculia accommodations in the classroom may include allowing more time on assignments and tests, allowing the use of calculators, adjusting the difficulty of the task, separating complicated problems into smaller steps, using posters to remind students basic math concepts, tutoring to target core foundational skills, providing supplemental information via computer-based interactive lessons, hands-on projects. Thank you very much for watching this presentation.